Carl Jung once wrote that the most dangerous illusion is not the lies we tell others, but the lies we tell ourselves about love. And perhaps the most seductive of these lies is the belief that helping always heals. But Jung discovered something darker. He found that there are people whose wounds are not wounds at all, but weapons. People who do not want to rise, but want you to sink with them. And every time you extend your hand, you are not saving them. You are offering yourself as their anchor. Imagine this. You see a man standing in quicksand. His arms reach out. His voice trembles, begging you to pull him free. Out of compassion, you step closer. But as you grab his hands, you realize he isn't climbing. He is clinging. And with each second, the ground beneath you gives way. By the time you understand, it is too late. You are trapped beside him, swallowed by the same pit. This is the danger Jung warned us about. The people who transform your kindness into their prison and your energy into their fuel. They do not seek healing. They seek hosts. And when you give, you are not liberating them. You are feeding their shadow. Think about it. How many times in your life have you tried to rescue someone only to discover that nothing changed? How often have you poured out your energy, your time, your love, and instead of gratitude, you were left with exhaustion? And how many of those people even now remain exactly where they were, while you walk away emptier? Jung believed this is no accident. He saw that the psyche resists transformation when it refuses to confront its own shadow. And if you continue to carry that burden for someone else, you are not saving them from suffering. You are stealing from them the one thing that could awaken them, the responsibility to face themselves. And this is the cruel paradox. What looks like compassion may, in truth, be sabotage. By protecting them from the consequences of their own choices, you are not sparing them pain, you are sparing them growth. That is why Jung insisted there are people you must not help, not because they are unworthy, not because they do not deserve love, but because your help robs them of the very fire they need to rise. Today, we will uncover 6 dangerous types of people Jung believed you must never rescue. Each carries a mask of weakness, of innocence, of crisis. But behind each mask lies a deeper truth. They are not reaching for freedom. They are reaching for you. And if you are not careful, you will discover that their survival has become your suffocation. And here is where you need to pause, because maybe you've already felt this truth pressing on your own life. Remember the moments you gave everything, your time, your patience, your love, only to watch nothing change. The nights you lay awake, wondering why helping someone you cared for left you emptier than before. If your chest tightens as you recall it, that is no accident. This is not just their story, it is yours. The patterns Jung revealed are not abstract theories. They live inside your relationships, in the choices you make, in the weight you carry for others. And if you recognize even one of these 6 dangerous types in your life, you may finally understand why your help has sometimes felt like a curse. So listen closely. Not for them, for you. Because what comes next may be the mirror you've been avoiding. The first mask we must uncover is the mask of the victim. At first glance, they are the easiest to pity, the ones who appear most deserving of your compassion. They speak of their pain in whispers and in storms, weaving their identity out of wounds. Their story always begins with tragedy and ends with helplessness. And every time you meet them, they are still falling, forever falling into the same abyss. But here is the hidden truth. They do not want to climb out. Their suffering is not just a wound, it has become their home. Jung would have called this a victim complex, a refusal of the psyche to confront its own shadow, to take even the smallest step toward individuation. To live in this role is to refuse growth, to choose dependency over responsibility. And when you rush to their side, hoping to lift them, you do not bring them closer to healing. You reinforce the chains that bind them. Think of someone who calls you every night, not for connection, not for comfort, but only to unload. Every word a complaint, every sigh a lament. You listen, you advise, you console, but tomorrow the story repeats. Nothing has changed because nothing was ever meant to change. Your presence was never an invitation to transformation. It was only a stage on which their sorrow could endlessly perform. This is why helping them feels like pouring water into a bottomless amphora. No matter how much you give, it never fills. The vessel is cracked, designed not to hold, but to drain. And in that draining, it consumes you. The victim thrives not on healing, but on attention. The more you rescue, the deeper their helplessness grows. They wield their pain like a shield against responsibility, like a badge that says, "I am exempt from change." In Jungian terms, they project their shadow outward, making others responsible for the weight they refuse to carry. And you, believing you are helping, become their crutch, their eternal support, their substitute will. But you cannot walk for them, you cannot breathe for them, and yet they will ask you to again and again. This is why Jung's warning feels almost cruel, but it is necessary. Every time you rescue the victim who refuses to heal, you are not saving them. You are robbing them of the possibility to rise. You are protecting them from the fire they need to walk through, the fire that could burn away illusion and reveal strength. Think of the myth of Sisyphus, condemned to roll his stone up the mountain, only for it to tumble back down. But unlike Sisyphus, the victim does not even try to push. They wait for you to carry the stone, and if you do, the curse is no longer theirs alone. It becomes yours. So how do you recognize them? You will feel it in your body, the heaviness after every encounter, the sense of déjà vu as their problems recycle without end, the quiet despair that whispers, "No matter what I do, nothing changes." And here lies the practical truth. Helping the victim is not healing, it is collusion. It is support for the illusion that they cannot stand on their own. And the more you give, the less they must. The only act of real love in such moments is the one most difficult to perform, to stop carrying them, to step back and let them face the emptiness they fear. For only in that confrontation, only in the silence of your absence, can the victim be forced to see that the choice has always been theirs. So ask yourself, who in your life keeps calling from the bottom of the pit, but never climbs when you extend your hand? Who drains you, but never changes? And more importantly, how much longer will you let their endless fall become your descent as well? The second mask is harder to see, because at first it looks innocent, even endearing. It is the mask of the eternal child, the pure eternus or puella eterna that Jung described, the one who never wants to grow up. At first, you may feel charmed by them. Their spirit is playful, light, full of dreams. They speak of possibility, of adventure, of how the world has wronged them by not providing enough. They radiate a strange purity, as if untouched by the responsibilities that weigh on everyone else. But beneath this innocence lies a truth more dangerous than despair, the refusal to stand. The eternal child does not want to carry the weight of life. They want others to carry it for them. They see your strength, your structure, your discipline, and instead of being inspired by it, they lean on it. You become their scaffolding, the architecture that holds up a house they will never build. Think of the colleague who never meets deadlines, always arriving with excuses that sound almost poetic. Illness, fate, bad timing, a broken car, the wrong people around them. Their stories are endless, but the pattern is the same. Responsibility is always elsewhere, and yet, somehow, they expect you to step in, to cover, to fix, to absorb the cost of their refusal. At first, you convince yourself it is temporary. They just need a little time, a little help. But weeks turn into months, months into years, and still the child remains a child. Jung saw this as the shadow of the archetype of youth, a refusal of individuation, an endless search for a parental figure to rescue them from the burden of life. They may speak of freedom, but their freedom is built on your labor. They may speak of independence, but their independence exists only because you subsidize it. This is the subtle danger. Unlike the victim who drags you down into their abyss, the eternal child drains you by climbing onto your back, turning your path into theirs. Every step you take becomes a step they did not have to, and soon you are walking not for yourself, but for both of you. It feels like carrying someone across a river who never intends to set foot on the shore. The moment you put them down, they do not thank you. They cry, they rage, they accuse you of abandonment. Because in their world, your role is not optional. You are the parent they refuse to grow beyond. This is why your help never creates gratitude. It only deepens entitlement. The more you provide, the more it confirms their belief that the world owes them. In Jungian terms, this is ego inflation masked by helplessness, a persona that hides a shadow of rage at the responsibilities they refuse to claim. And you, believing you are helping, become trapped in the endless cycle of provision. Their childlike charm blinds you until you realize you are no longer walking your own path, you are dragging theirs. So how do you recognize them? It is in the way they never finish what they start, the way they dream but never do, the way they look at you not as a partner in life, but as a rescuer, a surrogate parent, a permanent solution to their temporary effort. And here is the hardest truth. Every time you step in for the eternal child, you cement their refusal to grow. You protect them from the one thing that could save them, the necessity to stand on their own. Real love, in this case, is not carrying them further. It is putting them down. It is letting them scream, accuse, rage, while you refuse to play the parent they want. Only then can the eternal child be forced to face the terrifying but liberating truth that no one is coming to save them. So ask yourself, who in your life still lives as a child, though the years have long passed? Who dreams but never acts? Who expects but never gives? And more importantly, how long will you carry someone who has never even tried to walk beside you? The third mask is the most dangerous because it hides not behind weakness, but behind charm. This is the manipulator, the one who takes your kindness and reshapes it into their weapon. Unlike the victim, they do not beg for your help. Unlike the eternal child, they do not whine for your support. Instead, they smile, they flatter, they weave themselves into your trust. They make you feel chosen, special, needed. And then, slowly, almost invisibly, they begin to pull the strings. Jung warned that the shadow is not always ugly at first glance. Sometimes it is dressed in light, in sweetness, in apparent warmth. But beneath the surface, its hunger is the same. Power without responsibility. The manipulator is not seeking healing, they are seeking control, and you are the instrument. Think of the friend who always finds a way to make their needs sound urgent, their crises sound bigger than yours, their time more valuable. At first, you give gladly. You rearrange your schedule, lend them money, offer them advice. They praise you for your generosity, your loyalty, your heart. But notice what happens when you cannot give. The warmth cools, the compliments vanish. What was once charm becomes guilt. This is the manipulator's secret weapon. They bind you not with chains, but with emotions. They twist compassion into obligation, kindness into debt. And before you know it, your life is orbiting theirs. Jung saw this pattern as the shadow of dependency turned outward. Where the victim collapses inward, the manipulator expands outward, projecting their unmet needs as hooks into others. It is the psyche's refusal to face its own emptiness, choosing instead to fill it with your life, your time, your energy. It feels, at first, like a partnership, but slowly you realize the balance is gone. Every decision bends toward them. Every conversation circles back to their story. And when you dare to resist, they do not fight directly. They sigh, they withdraw, they let silence punish you until you return to your role. It is like giving your neighbor the keys to your house because they claim they need it for emergencies. At first, they use it rarely, and you feel noble for granting it. But soon, they enter whenever they please, rearranging furniture, taking food from your kitchen, reshaping your home until it no longer feels like yours. And by the time you notice, you are a guest in your own space. This is the danger of the manipulator. They do not steal from you outright. They convince you to hand it over willingly, believing it is kindness. But in truth, your giving is their conquest. So how do you recognize them? It is in the way their compliments always lead to requests, the way their gratitude feels conditional, the way you leave their presence not uplifted, but drained, questioning if you did enough, gave enough, loved enough. And here lies the practical truth. Helping the manipulator is not generosity, it is surrender. Every act of rescue feeds their illusion of control, confirming their belief that others exist to sustain them. The only act of real freedom is the one they will hate the most. Boundaries. To say no. To refuse the guilt, the sighs, the silent treatments. To reclaim your energy as your own. Jung taught that individuation requires facing the shadow directly. For the manipulator, that shadow is their hunger for control. And if you keep feeding it, they will never confront it. So ask yourself, who in your life makes you feel guilty for not giving? Who flatters you into obedience, then punishes you when you resist? And how much of your freedom have you already surrendered in the name of kindness? Because the truth is stark. The manipulator is not reaching for your love. They are reaching for your leash. And if you do not cut it, you will wake up one day to find that your life has never been your own. The fourth mask is one that often fools us the longest. It is not the victim who begs, not the eternal child who leans, not the manipulator who schemes. It is the martyr, the one who cloaks control in sacrifice. At first, they appear noble. They give endlessly, tirelessly, selflessly. They cook the meals, stay late at work, cover your mistakes, anticipate your needs before you even speak them. They tell you again and again, "Don't worry about me, I'll handle it." And part of you admires them. Another part feels guilty that you could never measure up to their devotion. But here is the hidden truth. Their sacrifice is not a gift, it is a leash. Jung understood this as another form of shadow projection. The martyr does not integrate their own desire for power, recognition, or love. Instead, they bury it beneath layers of selflessness. They deny their shadow, only to wield it unconsciously against others. Their giving is not truly free. It is currency, and you are expected to pay. Think of the parent who reminds you of every sacrifice they ever made for you, the nights they stayed awake, the opportunities they gave up, the years they suffered so you could thrive. Their words are framed as love, but beneath them is a silent accusation. "You owe me your life." Or the partner who never asks directly, but constantly overgives, creating a debt you never agreed to. They smother you with gestures until your freedom feels like betrayal. This is the paradox of the martyr. They trap you not by refusing to give, but by giving too much. Their kindness is not nourishment, it is suffocation. It feels like being handed a bouquet of flowers every morning, beautiful, fragrant, thoughtful. But each bouquet comes with invisible strings tied to your wrists, and by the end of the year you are buried under petals, unable to move, suffocated not by cruelty but by care. Jung warned that when the shadow of resentment is not confronted, it does not disappear. It disguises itself as virtue. The martyr convinces themselves they are holy in their suffering, but beneath that mask lies bitterness, control, and the demand for repayment. And you, believing their love is pure, become ensnared in a cycle of guilt. Every attempt to assert independence feels like betrayal. Every no feels like a wound you have inflicted. Until finally you surrender, not because you want to, but because you cannot bear the weight of their sacrifice. So how do you recognize them? It is in the way their giving never truly ends. It recycles into reminders. It is in the way they sigh when you decline their help. It is in the way their selflessness leaves you smaller, not stronger. The hard truth is this: helping the martyr, accepting their endless sacrifice without boundaries, only deepens their shadow. It allows them to avoid the one confrontation that could heal them, the truth that giving without freedom is not love, but manipulation. The only act of real love is to refuse the leash, to say, "I see your care, but I will not live in your debt," to draw boundaries so that their sacrifice is no longer a weapon, but a choice. Because true love is not measured by how much someone gives, but by whether that giving sets you free. So ask yourself, who in your life smothers you with sacrifice? Who gives not to uplift you, but to bind you? And how many of your choices are no longer your own, because you cannot bear to disappoint the one who loves you most? Remember this: the martyr does not die for you. They live through you, and if you are not careful, their devotion will become your prison. The fifth mask is one that terrifies us most because it forces us to watch destruction in slow motion. It is the addict, the one who is drowning but refuses to swim. At first, your instinct is to save them, to throw a rope, to dive into the waters, to give them all the strength they cannot summon for themselves. Addiction, whether to substances, to drama, to toxic love, or even to despair itself, looks like suffering, and you believe that suffering deserves compassion. But here is the cruel truth. The addict's suffering is not a cry for freedom. It is a cycle, a ritual, a shadow they refuse to confront. Jung saw addiction as the psyche's desperate attempt to avoid individuation, an endless distraction from the terrifying task of facing one's own emptiness. When you try to save the addict, you are not pulling them out of the abyss, you are diving into it with them. Think of the brother who promises he will change if only you lend him money one more time. Think of the friend who swears this relationship is the last toxic one, yet runs back the moment the phone lights up. Think of the partner who promises to quit, but just needs your patience a little longer. Each time you believe, each time you give, and each time the abyss swallows more, not just of them, but of you. It feels like trying to fill a glass with water, only to realize the bottom is missing. No matter how much you pour, it will never be enough. Because the glass is not broken by accident, it was built that way. The addict lives in this paradox. They crave rescue, yet sabotage it. They beg for help, yet despise responsibility. They swear they want freedom, but secretly cling to chains that numb the pain of their shadow. Jung warned that until the shadow is faced directly, it will dominate life from below. For the addict, the shadow is not just weakness, it is hunger, an endless hunger that no amount of your love, patience, or sacrifice can satisfy. And you, believing you are helping, become consumed by the same cycle. Your hope becomes their drug. Your belief becomes their excuse. Your life becomes collateral damage in a battle they never truly intend to win. It is like jumping into stormy waters to rescue someone who does not want to swim. At first, you think you can hold them, but as the waves crash and their panic grows, they drag you down with them. And soon, you are not the savior, you are the second victim. So how do you recognize them? It is in the endless promises with no action, in the repeated crises that blur into routine, in the way they make you feel both heroic and helpless, until exhaustion replaces love. Here lies the hard truth. Helping the addict when they refuse to face themselves is not compassion, it is complicity. Every time you rescue them, you protect them from the one confrontation that could ignite change. The moment they finally hit the ground and see the abyss for what it is. The only act of real love is also the most painful. To step back, to let them feel the weight of their own choices, to allow the suffering that might one day awaken their will. Because the addict will never swim if you keep carrying them, and the longer you stay in the waters, the more you drown with them. So ask yourself, who in your life keeps promising change but never moves toward it? Who drains you with cycles that never end? And how much of your own life are you willing to sink, waiting for someone else to rise? Remember this. You cannot save the addict. You can only refuse to join them in their abyss. The final mask is the most terrifying because it is the most honest in its darkness. This is the destroyer, the one who does not cling like the victim, or lean like the child, or charm like the manipulator, or suffocate like the martyr, or drown like the addict. The destroyer does not need saving. They need you broken. At first, they may appear passionate, magnetic, even intoxicating. They pull you close with intensity, with fire, with promises of love or loyalty that feel larger than life. But soon you realize their intimacy is not connection, it is conquest, and every wound you carry is proof that they have won. Jung believed that when the shadow is denied too long, it mutates into destruction. The destroyer does not simply avoid their shadow. They feed it with yours. Your tears become their release, your pain, their fuel, your collapse, their stability. Think of the partner who cannot rest until you are upset, the friend who smiles quietly at your failures, the colleague who undermines you so your light never outshines theirs. With them, peace is dangerous, balance is threatening. They do not feel alive unless you are unraveling. Being with the destroyer is like standing beside a fire. At first, its warmth feels comforting. Then, without warning, it spreads, it consumes, it blackens everything it touches. And by the time you realize what is happening, the flames have already carved their marks into your skin. This is their cruel paradox. They do not seek rescue, they seek ruin. The more you give, the more you lose. The harder you try to heal them, the deeper they carve into you. With them, compassion is not sabotage, it is self-destruction. So how do you recognize them? It is in the way you shrink in their presence, the way your victories feel unsafe to share, the way your spirit feels dimmer after every encounter. You will know the destroyer by the emptiness they leave behind. And here lies the brutal truth. Helping the destroyer is not noble. It is suicidal. Every step you take closer is a step into their fire, and they will not stop burning until there is nothing left of you. The only act of survival is to walk away, to leave the fire to consume itself, to reclaim your life before it becomes nothing but ash. Because Jung was clear, not everyone wants to be healed, and some, if you try to save them, will take you with them into their ruin. You have now seen the 6 masks, the victim who clings, the eternal child who refuses to grow, The manipulator who twists your kindness, the martyr who suffocates with sacrifice, the addict who drowns in their abyss, and the destroyer who thrives on your pain. Each of them wears a different face, but the lesson is the same. Not everyone wants to be saved, and if you forget this truth, you risk losing yourself. But here is the hope Jung left us with. Seeing these masks is not the end, it is the beginning, because the moment you recognize them, they lose their power. Awareness is the key that unlocks the cage. Boundaries are the fire that keeps the shadow from consuming your light. And what does this mean for you? It means you are not weak for having tried to help. It means your compassion was never the problem. The problem was forgetting that love without limits becomes a prison. The truth is, you carry a strength greater than any of these masks. The strength to choose, to say no, to step back, to let others face their shadows without sacrificing your own soul. And in that choice, you reclaim the most important relationship of all, the one you have with yourself. So if you recognized yourself in these stories, if you felt the weight of the victim, the pull of the child, the strings of the manipulator, the suffocation of the martyr, the drowning of the addict, or the fire of the destroyer, know this: you are not alone. Many have walked this path, and many have found freedom by daring to let go. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 6 masks have you faced in your life? Which one left the deepest mark? Tell your story in the comments, because here, your voice will not be ignored, and you may find others whispering back, "I've been there too," because healing begins in recognition. And sometimes, the bravest act of love is not to hold on, but to let go. And don't think this is the end, because if you stop here, you'll walk away with only half the truth. You've seen the shadows, but not the light. The next step is waiting for you in 6 signs you've healed more than you realize. Carl Jung. There, you'll discover how the very scars you thought made you weak are the proof of your hidden strength. So before you go, subscribe, like, and share this video so you never walk this path alone. Don't pause. Don't stop. Not here. Because the moment you recognize the danger, you must also recognize the power already alive inside you.